Hi, good morning. Thanks. So we are running RACECAT for 2.5 years. We hopefully were close to complete the recruitment. And if you ask me, and there are several presentations, publications showing that direct transfer is patients that undergo endovascular treatment. If they were directly transferred, they had better outcomes. I have no doubt of this. However, the problem is that it's the selection on the field, and we cannot take decision based only on endovascular treatments. There is also the majority of patients do not have a large vessel occlusion and will not benefit from these transfers. So the aim of the RACECAT, as many of you may know, is to answer this question: should we prioritize IVTPA, or should we go straight and bypass the primary stroke centers in order to prioritize endovascular treatment? We should work with paramedics in order to select the best option. And when we designed the study, we thought it was unrealistic that in that kind of setting we could ask for informed consent. That was completely impossible and not feasible. You cannot ask the family to sign prior to randomization. So what we did in agreement with the authorities is we randomized the calendar, pre-randomized timeframes in the calendar, and therefore at that specific time of the day, the transfer mode should be, the official transfer site should be or A or B, and therefore we only had to ask for informed consent after the end of the acute phase. This is the recruitment rate. We are almost as expected, a few months behind. After 2.5 years, we are enrolling around 35 patients per month, and we're going to have our next interim analysis in a few patients, hopefully in 3 months, 4 months, when they will complete the 3 months outcome. Data acquisition is within the official registry of Catalonia, so we didn't have to do any changes in terms of recording all the data. And we can answer already some questions. This is why I'm here, because many of you ask me all the time what's going on with RACECAT, and I cannot give many informations up to now, but is RACECAT a population-based study? So, for example, we took the recruitment of the last of 2 consecutive months. We included 66 patients during these 2 months, and we could see that we are recruiting in the study 14% of all stroke codes in Catalonia, 30% of the codes with a RACE greater than 4, but after all, and most important, is that up to 70% of the eligible population that could be included is finally included. So we're close to recruiting all candidates that are eligible. What have we seen in our initial or interim safety analysis? So we expected this distribution of RACE scores, and in fact, we are recruiting a much more sick, severe populations with a higher rate of RACE 7, 8, and 9. And we are demonstrating that working with paramedics, we are able to include a population that will have an NIH on admission at the hospital of 17 in median, which is very high, very severe strokes. This is what we expected in terms of diagnosis. We expected to have around 43% of patients with large vessel occlusions, according to previous publications, and we had the nice surprise that in fact we're a little bit above. Almost 1 in 2 patients that are selected by paramedics, in fact, will have a large vessel occlusion. And in terms of access to endovascular treatment, we expected that 1 in 4, on average, will end up having an endovascular treatment. And what we know, and we don't know this information by groups because it's blinded, but we know that 29% of the patients that are included in the study will receive endovascular treatment. And we believe it's a very high rate specialists in the ITT population, in where we're going to test the primary endpoint, the efficacy endpoint, will be those patients with a confirmed ischemic stroke. So half of these patients will receive endovascular treatment. We thought at some points that we might change the inclusion criteria in order to get a higher percentage of patients with large vessel occlusions. So if we had chosen a RACECAT greater than 7, we would have this distribution. And interestingly, you can see that the rate of hemorrhages is not really increasing with the score in the RACE scale. Finally, what are the first effects that we're seeing? So, since I told you we are working with the official registry, which is publicly available, and we could see, comparing the pre-RACECAT and the post-RACECAT period, how the participating centers, the primary, the spoke centers, they are performing better. They have an interest here in performing better, and they are reducing their door-in, door-out time 23% since they are in the trial. However, in the other hand, we can also see the number of TPA treatments in these centers. Between the year before RACECAT and the year after we started, there was a decrease in the number of IV TPAs in these centers. And if we would get to a scenario in which we're going to apply bypass of these centers consistently to all the patients, we should expect a reduction of 1/3 of the TPA treatments in spoke centers. On the other hand, we see the opposite in comprehensive stroke centers. We would increase the number of thrombolysis by more than half if we will apply the direct transfer to all the patients in remote regions. So the conclusions that we can draw until now is that we designed an efficient trial to include patients at the pre-hospital level. We have a high rate of diagnosis of strokes and large vessel occlusions. The patients that are included by paramedics, 1 in 3 of them will receive endovascular treatment, and that the RACECAT will induce a better performance in primary stroke centers, and the consequences of RACECAT could be a significant reduction in the activity of these primary stroke centers. Thanks very much.